Oguchi Onyewu has just been appointed as the VP of Sporting. And that sounds like a made-up position, but I don't even care.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to report to the new sporting director, Matt Crocker. He's not the general manager, which is the role that Brian McBride had, but he's going to have a lot of the general manager responsibilities from what I understand, i.e. he's going to help in the hiring of the coach for the U.S. men's national team. He is going to start establishing contacts with the player pool and all of the clubs so that there are good relationships on both sides to make sure we can grease any wheels. And another one that I really liked, he's going to try to find more funding for our extended national teams. That's our disability national teams, our youth national teams, all that type of stuff. So I'm glad he's thinking that way, and I'm glad that they're thinking that way too. To make
Do you think that was his? Like, it just feels like a little bit of a bolt-on role and responsibility. Do you think that was something that he? I mean, I could probably just ask him, but like that he was passionate about and wanted to have as like part of his remit of like, hey, I think, you know, this is important for me as well. It just feels like wildly important, but like also maybe not like a vertical like list of roles and responsibilities that you would expect from that when it comes to like, oh, and funding.
Yeah, it's a good question. Heather Tercios in the chat said they admitted that this was a new position, completely made up. And I think it's a good one. He's not exactly the guy. He's not Matt Crocker yet. But I think yet is the important word here, Heath.
But is this not just the GM role that Brian McBride had?
I guess it feels that way.
I don't think that way. I think it's closer to the role of what the expectations of or what Brian McBride was doing than general manager. I think general manager is all encompassing in terms of its title. And this does, I mean, VP of Sporting. No,
which means I feel
it's
like
it's very European and it's very like progressive.
Well, who's the
of like
president of Sporting then? Would that be considered Matt Crocker?
Yeah,
as a sporting director. Okay,
it is backwards in terms of a sporting director, right?
Because you're talking about the president of the Sporting is Matt Crocker. His VP, his number 2 is going to be Oguchi Onyewu. That would just be easier, I think.
Hierarchical, it doesn't make sense, but you wouldn't have like a sporting president, you know, like it's a weird, like generally I think the term is better understood as a sporting director, and maybe that's actually not what his title is, but I assume I think that's what it is. But the VP of Sporting, titles are all negotiable and roles that like they don't always make sense. You want them to make sense, but like I think and you're right, Jimmy, in the way that it actually lives, it would be president of Sporting and VP of Sporting. That's maybe has, you know, some of these roles and responsibilities reports into the president and is doing a little bit more of that club management, relationship management, you know, that sort of thing. And funding.
We get a good question here from Patrick Walsh. What's up, Patrick? Thanks for the support. He says, are they hiring a GM too? Or is this a new role in Crocker and they're just both taking on new and more responsibilities? I think they still will hire a GM because that will be specific to the U.S. men's national team. Gooch, very similar to Matt Crocker, is not just overseeing the U.S. men's national team. It's also the women's team. It's the youth national teams. It's the extended national teams. So that is encompassing a lot. And I think that Gooch is a great hire for this in a lot of different ways. And I think his experience as a player and as a professional, actually, Matt Crocker said this, I kind of echoing his sentiments. He said his experience as a player and sports executive coupled with his deep understanding of U.S. soccer, Oguchi will be invaluable as we continue to strengthen our sporting initiatives. We all look forward to working closely with him. Pretty boilerplate, but I do think that having his voice, having him see what he's seen behind the scenes in many different situations, whether it's with the national team, whether it's at the club level, and trying to think, hey, I lived through this, and that's not how it should be. I remember Gooch being very vocal about kind of the rights and wrongs of how things should be run. And I always knew he'd be probably a pretty good front office guy.
Like he doesn't have an iPhone because he's very,
he's going to have to get one if he's going to stay in contact.
The world doesn't operate on that iOS. The world operates on WhatsApp, Jimmy. Be a man of the people. WhatsApp is the place where everybody communicates globally. What are you talking about? I think like 90% of the world doesn't have an iPhone, but he is very particular about not wanting, like I say that jokingly, but he's a man of conviction for his reasons, right? And
does he have a flip phone? I would just want to know if he's like whipping out the flip phone. I need that visual in my life.
I will say that when I was in the stadium for the Champions League final, humble brag, The Qatari royal family was in the suite next to our suite. I was in a suite, humble brag. And their security was around, but the son of the ruler of the country, the emir of the country, had a old school small Nokia phone with a wired in headphone.
No way.
Maybe that's because of security reasons, like it's not connected to the internet. It's just a phone,
right?
And harder to track. Maybe it's the burner or whatever it is. And there's a lot of things in a phone that I think a royal family member, a little bit of banter with Heath and Jimmy might cause some trouble in the hands of the wrong.
If he's taking nudes,
yeah. And so he just had this phone, and I remember looking at it, and he had it in his hand next to me, and he was talking to somebody on the other part of the stadium, and just having the like old school wired thing. And I looked at the phone,
like
and
a walkie-talkie. Wow.
Yeah. Are you calling from a walkie-talkie? It's
so this whole visual now of Gooch with burner phones all around the U.S. and Europe to try to secure players for our.
I want our VP of Sporting to have 4 phones. And every time they sit down, or every time they're viewed on the TV, of saying, "Oh, you have Oguchi Onyewu out at Standard Liège, where we have a player connecting with the club again." That when they show the visual, it's him with 4 old school burner phones in his hand. Like very busy guy, important guy, but not on the iOS system.
Can I share? And maybe I've already shared this, so you can stop me if I have. About Oguchi Onyewu, we were just qualified for the 2010 World Cup. We were in DC. Were you in that camp? You weren't in that camp, I don't think.
No.
And he had because we had qualified down in Honduras, and then in DC we were playing Costa Rica, and that he had set up this thing at a club to go out, and he goes, "Hey everybody, we need $250 each." And that adds up pretty quick, and we're going to have our own little section. We're going to get, the VIP treatment, blah, blah, blah. We're like, all right, whatever, Gooch, so we all give him $250. And after the game, it takes a while to get out of the stadium. Everybody gets showered. Guys have to do drug testing. You get on the bus. Then when you amble back to the hotel, you're not going to wear your sweats to this thing. So guys go get, put on the cologne and the nice stuff. The bus stays for us. We paid the bus driver a little bit to wait for us and take us over there. We go over there. We get over there like 12:45 a.m. We all walk in, and the owner tells Gooch that he's got to shut it down at 1 a.m.
Did you get your money back?
No, we didn't get our money back. Gooch, I still have a
spray the bottles. Do you spray the bottles? Just spray them on everyone?
Dude. We had to go in with like little fancy wave, sat in our spots, and we had to bounce, dude. We got kicked out. We paid $250 each for like 5 minutes, and I'm still bitter about it. I didn't even get a drink.
Yeah.
Just qualified for a World Cup.
Hey, I will say, we were talking about Bees getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. The one thing that Bees always did is Bees had this thing, and maybe directly or indirectly, but he always used his match bonuses to take us out after a game. Like we were going out. Like the amount of times that I used to be like, "Yo, let me know," and he'd be like, "No, I got it. Don't worry about it." Like he took we played Brazil in Chicago, took everyone out, like Brazilian national team players, us, like everything, just like, don't worry, I got it. And like I always tried to, like, I got hit with a few bills by teammates over the years that when that those lights come on and the check comes out and they go, where did everyone go? That's weird. But Bees was one that was always like made it easy for us and took care of us and was super generous. I shout out to Bees.
Yeah, shout out to Bees. He's fantastic with that type of stuff. I remember I was covering the Gold Cup final in Chicago, 2013 maybe, and U.S. wins. Everybody's celebrating, and I'm on the outside now, right? I'm not in the group. They're not letting anybody in to go celebrate. Guys are popping beers and champagne all over the place. Locker room's getting crazy. Bees comes out, and he sees me, and he knows that I was once a part of it, right? So he kind of gives you the, like, the knowing Bees nod or the wink. So he goes back into the thing, brings out a beer for me, and he's like, "Hey, you're still part of the group, man." And I'll never forget that. Now, once he went back in, security guard's like, "You can't drink out here," and took it away from me like 10 seconds later. I can't get a goddamn drink.
You can't get a drink. Can anybody get Jimmy a drink around here?
Heartbreak Jimmy over here. Jesus. Anyway, so did you ever play credit card roulette?
Oh, yeah.
With the guys?
Yeah.
My first ever camp, we were at Gold Cup. It was in Seattle for our first game against Cuba, and we played credit card roulette. And we went to some big giant steakhouse. There's 15 guys, and the bill was $800-900. and I just got all my per diem for the month, which is pretty much $800 or $900, and I lost and I had to pay. This is the little thing.
Yeah.
I actually remember those types of moments more than
Oh yeah. I did it. We did a credit card roulette, which for those that don't know, don't play it. But like if you want to, you put all your credit cards in together. They draw them out. The last one out of the hat, or you say the first one gets drawn. Usually it's the last one out has to pay for everybody. We were in South Africa, Jimmy, for Confederations Cup, and we were like 23 people plus like 10 security plus like all the staff and all these things. Like we were probably close to 40 at like this long table at like a South African steakhouse.
You can't agree to that. The thing is, there's so much peer pressure.
Yeah, I got out like, and it was obviously only like the players that were there, and everybody put in, and I got out pretty early. And I remember Gooch was actually the second to last to go out. It was like he was head to head with somebody. I can't remember what it was. No. And when they drew his, he got up and started yelling, screaming, and running around this restaurant. It was a big restaurant making a scene. But like that's the relief you get, no matter how much money you have.
It
is not
a loser,
good feeling. Yeah,
it's just not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling.